This is Let's Talk Sport. It's 9:45, ABC Radio Newcastle. Lindy Burns is with me, as usual. Aaron Gray is here as well. Now, Aaron is the president of Toronto Cricket. He's a Newcastle District Cricket Association committee member, won a first-grade premiership in the season just past, and he's concerned about cricket numbers. In fact, he contributed to a Sydney Morning Herald article last weekend. We thought we'd get him in here just to clarify that story. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Pretty good. First of all, was the story right? Now, you were quoted in that story. You want to clarify a few things?
Look, definitely, I don't dispute the story. I don't dispute my comments in the story.
Can you just mention what they are for those who haven't seen the article?
Yeah, so a few things. I mean, particularly some of the comments that were outdated relating to the work on the ground by local Cricket New South Wales staff. So that was certainly something that wasn't necessarily relevant or current today. I think just to give some indication on that, Tim Cox was appointed to the Lake Macquarie region in around about August last year. So some of those comments and the conversations we were having with many different people over that time was around about sort of October last year. So certainly Tim's impact and his contribution hadn't been received at that time. So, but yeah, look, clarifying that, definitely. I think the guys on the ground probably copped a little bit of a, broad brush sort of commentary on that, and they probably didn't deserve that.
Craig, can we go back to the beginning of what the article, what it caught your eye and why it caught your eye so much?
Well, it caught my eye because through the article, it said, when Cricket Australia counts the number of players who are registered to play the game, there was an inference there that some players are being counted more than once. So if junior players play in the morning, play under 15s, then back up for a senior club in the afternoon, they're counted as two, not one. And if they play a school match and play an under 20s game, a 2020 game, that might be three. Now, Aaron, is that right?
Yeah, that's true. And look, I'm not really detailed on that stuff. That in terms of that angle on the article, I wasn't really wholly and solely where it was going that way. My commentary was asked in terms of constructive sort of comments. And last year, if I can just go back a step, there was a lot of surveys and investigations, if you like, done by Cricket New South Wales and Cricket Australia, which I was also asked to be invited to come and be a part of. So it was all around this survey and gathering information around cricket in general in terms of, are we on the right track? How can we improve it?
At the grassroots level?
At the grassroots level, I was, I guess, nominated.
Seemed to be there at the grassroots level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was invited, I guess, as a representative of clubs, not necessarily my club, but just certainly with someone with some perspective from clubland around where we think we could do things a little bit better. So overall, there was a lot of things probably missed out of that article that I probably that didn't make that article because it didn't suit the angle the article was going on.
What I want to come back in a sec to what the things are that you think are important, but I'm not sure why does Cricket Australia count these players one game is one, two games is two?
I'd reckon it's because...
Just make them look good?
Well, make out that the game doesn't have a problem as far as the participation rate's concerned.
But how does that solve the fact that it does have a problem when it comes to participation?
And that's the big discussion. So I think there should be external numbers that you use for commercial reasons, which are factual. I think they're entitled to count that. As far as I know, other sports do it as well. So they're consistently measuring their numbers versus what other codes are doing. I think what clubs probably want to hear more of is less of these motherhood statements about participation growing and how great and fantastic cricket is in terms of participation, because we're there and living and breathing it, and we know that there's challenges and we know that it's very tough to get players and retain players into your clubs. And I'm talking from junior level right through to your men's cricket, and then now we see the invention of masters and stuff like that. So, the older retired generations of full-time Saturday cricket are now coming up.
Does Cricket Australia have a problem in terms of, in respect of, let's look at local cricket, and I'm talking about Hunter Valley and Central Coast and Newcastle. You're based here with Toronto. Fielding teams, We've got kids, I was told through the week, we've got 15-year-old kids playing first-grade cricket in Newcastle. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I think it has the potential to make it not as strong as it could be and should be. I mean, thriving clubs for me and feeding the system that goes right up to first-class cricket should be about providing the best level of cricket you can at every level. So if you've got lots of 15-year-olds there maybe not on merit. If they're there on merit, I mean, we've seen examples in the past. I mean, obviously, Dutchie played at our club at 15 and he went on to play for Australia. So that's not a wide...
My brother played
broad
at
brush.
15 for Lambton, New Lambton. He's 57,
There's-
8 now.
there's
Yeah, but
examples-
these are minority.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sure,
right.
there's been good players. I think Jimmy DeCourcy made his first grade debut when he was 12. But
This
the
is a
point being,
constant now.
these are minority players.
Correct.
But these days, more common. Yeah?
Definitely, and definitely down the grades as well. You know, and I think this isn't just about first grade, like I said. This is about the whole system from the ground up. But I think third and fourth grade in particular. Now, we've won the club championship a couple of times at Toronto in the last 3 years. Charlestown won it last year. In fact, it might have been back-to-back. Sorry, I haven't got that right in front of me. But my point is that, you know, there's clubs there with strong clubs winning club championships, and I can tell you now that we've got more kids in our younger grades than we've ever had, which is great. I love the opportunity for them, but it would be great if they were coming in and the ratio was just a little bit higher on that, on those men, sort of bringing them through.
You're mentioning men. We've been celebrating the women's game with the Ashes win in the last few weeks, and you know Elise Perry setting this extraordinary role model mark. Are you seeing more young girls wanting to play?
Well, that's one of the absolute glowing contributions been happening, and that's been sort of driven from the top down, which is great to see, and certainly locally. We've seen social girls cricket take off a few years ago, and now women's cricket. And now we've got social girls cricket that's been going now for a couple of years, and it's growing every year. And this year, you see the local association at the NDCA putting on a women's comp as well for grade cricket. So certainly, yeah, that's fantastic. And
so that's growing, but the men's side of it isn't so much.
Well, for me, it's just about the depth of the men's stuff. The men's stuff is, you know, that sort of 22 to 32 to 35 age group. You know, societal issues do make an impact there, but you know, I'd like to see some strategies that we can all work together cohesively with our governing bodies to say, okay, how are we going to arrest that situation?
Aaron Gray with us today, and Aaron is the Toronto Cricket Club president. He's also on the NDCA committee and won a first-grade premiership in the previous season. We're talking about player numbers and registrations in the game of cricket in general. Might finish with one for you, Aaron, and that is, do you have an answer here? Or let's narrow it down even a bit more pointy, is the problem that people are time poor now, and a lot of senior cricketers who were playing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they would play until they were well into their 30s in the high grades, are saying, look, I'm in my late 20s now, I can't afford to play cricket, from a point of view that I don't have the time to play first grade. Yeah,
look, I don't personally believe in that. I actually think that, you know, if the culture's right and it's an enjoyable experience, people will still want to play it. You know, there is a stigma that cricket takes all day. You know, third and fourth grade cricket starts at 1 o'clock and it's finished by around 6 or 7. Yes, that's a big day of cricket, don't get me wrong, but, you know, winter sports, you know, if you go in rugby league or soccer in the men's stuff, you've got 2 or 3 grades that go all afternoon. So you might turn up and play third grade or reserve grade, and then you stay around and watch first grade anyway. So you're giving up a day for your winter sports as well. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously different challenges in summer. It's hot, the beach is nice and all that sort of stuff. But I think that we can arrest it with some good strategy and get the culture right.
Can I ask you about Cameron Bancroft coming back and Joe Burns being dropped for the Ashes? Just to name 2 of the changes that have come through. Just as a fan of the game and a person who loves the sport, and it would have been as, you know, upset as all of us with what happened with, you know, for want of a better description, Sandpaper Gate. But Cameron Bancroft returning, that's the 3 now that have made it back into the fold. Is it good for the game? Will it be good for the Ashes contest against England?
Yeah. If I'm qualified to comment, sure.
You absolutely are.
I'm glad you came back. He was running out the door. He was almost in his car after you asked that question.
I really want him to answer that
question.
Look,
as a fan of the game, I just want to see the best cricketers playing for our country, just like I do in, you know, fourth grade. You know, for me, it's no different no matter what level. But as a fan of the game, sure, you want to see your best players, and we want to beat the Poms, and I want to see the best team possible make that happen.
Okay. Good on you, well answered. And thanks for coming in. It was terrific to see you, and thanks for sharing your thoughts today.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
There's Aaron Gray talking cricket at 5 to 10 on ABC Radio, Newcastle. Lindy Burns here. We've got 5 minutes, Lindy, to just continue to to look at the issue of sport. Heather from San Remo, she agrees with you, Lindy, about being disappointed that the World Swimming Championships are not shown on free-to-air television.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Well, I want to see what other people think about Andrew Nabu's return to the A-League, but not coming back to play with his allegedly beloved Jets. And in case people weren't aware of that, I think most people, if they follow soccer in this town, know that Andrew Nabu had great success when he was playing with the Newcastle Jets in 2016-17. 18 goals across 48 appearances. It ended him going to a big Japanese heavyweight club as a result. Now it's decided that he wants to come back to play in Australia, but he signed with Melbourne Victory. Now, he is originally from Melbourne. His wife and he have family there, so that's completely understandable. But from what we understand and from what Laurie McKenna, the CEO of the Jets, said on Twitter, that there was this gentleman's agreement that if Nabu decided he wanted to come back to the A-League, that the Jets would have the first discussion with him. Which is fine, and I'm all up for gentlemen's agreements, and I know things change. And the thing is, too, the Jets, as you know, we've heard from Ernie Merrick just a couple of weeks ago in this very studio, they wouldn't have been able to afford him anyway. So we're in that situation where we feel affronted, but at the same time we go, well, even if you'd had that discussion, we know that we would have had no money to pay you and you would have gone to the Victory. So do we just go, well done, Andrew Nabu, we still love you, you did a great thing for us when you were playing for us, but when you play against the Jets for Melbourne Victory in the FFA Cup, which I think is on August 7. So it's interesting, the first match that he plays for Melbourne Victory will be against the Jets, which I think is a deep karma there. Do we go, I hope you score goals and I hope you go well, or do we go, damn you, how dare you reject us?
This is Newcastle, he get booed. But the point is, I mean, look, you're right, he comes back. If he comes back, knocks on Laurie McKenna's door and says, I'm here, I've come in, as per we agreed, the gentleman's agreement to give you the first offer. Here's what I want. Here's what I've been offered somewhere else. Laurie goes, sorry, we're not even in the ballpark there. He goes off and the same thing happens. So, look, I think it's much ado about nothing.
A bit.
Highlight for me through the week, even though Ireland have been bowled out for 38 or something in their second innings and lost the test match against England at Lords, the highlight for me was Ireland bowling England out for 85. I thought it was fantastic.
How much should we look at that and go, they were a bit susceptible outside of stump. Not that everyone doesn't know that, but so it was kind of interesting to see that was the case. I mean, it's a big come down from the World Cup win. I suppose some of those players were involved, some weren't, but I think that would give Australia a lot of heart.
I think the Australians would have looked on there. And finally, a low light, a sport that you love, Lindy, you've watched and you've supported for many years, boxing.
Yes.
Manny Pacquiao won a split decision against Kevin Thurman. I can't remember his name.
You're asking me about a boxer's first name.
No, I'm just, I was thinking out loud. Manny Pacquiao won a split decision, so it went 12 rounds, so it went to the judges to make the decision. Now, I watched it because I love the boxing and I love Manny Pacquiao. He won easily and got the decision, but one judge had him losing.
Oh, really?
One judge thought the other bloke won. Well, I thought, hang up your ticket.
How much have we discussed, though, the difficulties surrounding judged-only sports where you get points? You know, it's just there's always going to be questions. And we're talking boxing, Craig. Do you think anybody changed hands?
Well, the old story about when the fans used to go to Las Vegas and they'd walk in on the night and they'd see Don King, who was the promoter, and they go up to Don, they'd say, hey, Don, don't tell me who wins.
Especially if you're going out to play sport today, just spare a thought for Ararat in Victoria, who lost to Great Western last weekend by 509 points.
So, what sport was that?
It's Australian rules football.
How many points?
509 points.
Why didn't they declare?
79, 41, 515 to 106.
They got a goal.
Gotta love them.
Lindy,
so,
we've got 15 seconds left.
Goodbye. Well, I'll just hum. Go.
Yes, you'll be the top of clock. Good to see you.
Thank you.
We've covered we've covered some ground. Yes. All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Okay, it's time for the news now. And after that, some music, story box and movies right now. It's 10 o'clock.